Regular meeting of the North Branford Conservation and Inland Wetlands Agency to order. Again, this meeting on Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 at approximately 6:31 p.m. I'd like to start with the roll call of everyone seated here this evening. We have regular members Bob Whitworth, Frank Borgano, Ashley Joyner, and Jerry Fishbeck. We have Marie Diamond, who's our liaison from the Town Council. We have our Town Planner, Wetlands Administrator, David Perkins. I am Steve Scavo. I'm the chairman for this evening's meeting. Next, I'd like to do a Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next, what I'd like to do is, we're on item 3, the minutes. A couple of members just had some questions about them. I figured what I'd like to do is, if it's all right, Dave, we just make a motion, just table them to the end of the meeting. I figured because we have a public hearing, I didn't want to hold that. Everyone here was there for that, so.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes to the end of the meeting.
To discuss, okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, very good. So now we're going to move on to item 4, which is the public hearing and possible action. Again, this is from application 2025-2 West Pond Road, Glenwood Road, application for subdivision for 6 lots, owner applicant Dick Investment Properties LLC, Bruce Chacon, continued from June 18, 2025 and July 23, 2025. So before we start, I'll turn it over to the applicant. Is there anything that information you have for us, David, or should we?
We did get a letter that I emailed out from the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection.
Yes, I think everyone got that by email, yes. Very good. Sounds good, then I'll let the applicant continue.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Just identify yourself for the record, please, and
Sure.
go right ahead.
All right, good evening. My name's Annette Ellis. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Giuliano Associates in Wallingford. I'm here representing BC Investment Properties, LLC. And this application, as you mentioned, is for a 6-lot subdivision on 30.9 acres, having access on both West Pond Road and at the end of Glenwood Road. So at the end of the last meeting, we were asked to address 2 items. One of them was a request for driveway profiles. I've done that. I've emailed it to David Perkins on July 30th. There are some cuts and fills, mostly cuts. But other than the crossing for lots 1 and 2, the closest proposed grading resulting from any driveway installation is more than 90 feet away from the wetlands. The vast majority of it is outside the 100-foot upland review area. And as Ian Cole mentioned during last month's meeting, the soils here on site are non-erosive. Furthermore, these plans, just to remind you, are for subdivision approval. They demonstrate that development of each lot is feasible. The location of the houses and the driveways are not set in stone. They'll be fine-tuned at the time each plot plan is designed. The second item was for Ian Cole. He was asked to contact DEEP. So at this point, I will turn it over to Ian.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Ian Cole, professional soil scientist, professional wetland scientist. As coming out of our last meeting, there was a request both from the commission and from concerned citizens to reach out to DEEP and to do some follow-up investigations in reference to wildlife concerns on the property. To that extent, the project utilizing Connecticut DEEP's easy portal assessment tool, the project ran an assessment of the site, which generates a state-listed species that could potentially occur on the site. This tool is in addition to the publicly available mapping that's provided. As we stated in the last meeting, the public available mapping does not show any designated areas on the site. However, listening to the concerns of the commission, we went the extra step and ran the assessment tool. Once we got that species list, we also then sent DEEP an email corresponding with them asking to see if they had any further review and comment, specifically related to 5-line skink, which was a species that was brought up by a concerned citizen. Our position was that 5-line skink did not occur on the site. Long story short, the letter in reference that DEEP had submitted dated August 22nd, 2025, essentially says the same thing, that five-line skink does not occur on the property, and then goes on further to say that the project could submit an NDB determination for further correspondence with the site. As discussed previously, the species of concern are terrestrial-based organisms, not really tied necessarily to the wetland systems. The project, again, is having minimal de minimis impact on the wetlands. The crossing site chosen, quite honestly, is the best way to cross to that rear lot. It's the most narrow point of the wetland. The project has upgraded the crossing site to provide that three-sided box culvert. The project includes the best management practices that DEEP typically requires for the individual organisms that were identified on the site, specifically being for the turtle species, exclusionary fencing, no use of plastic netting for ground control, things like this. So for these reasons, we still feel the project has no impact on wildlife or the wetlands. And we, will continue to correspond with DEEP on this matter.
I want to thank you for contacting them. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I think if I read that report properly, I think it said that there were possibly some transplant communities of the skink that in nearby areas, but mostly they're in the western part of the state. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what that report was referencing, I left the book in my car. A lot of the known locations for five-line skink are in the western part of the state. In DEEP's publications that are available to the general public, there was one outlier population that was identified sometime in the late 2000s over in Old Lyme. It was thought by the professionals who were doing the investigation that those were transplanted there and maybe not naturally occurring, but it's undefined. And I think DEEP's position was that five-line skink are not known to occur in this general vicinity.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the gentleman from the agency, or? Okay, thank you very much.
At this point in time, we don't have anything, Timothy Lee on behalf of the applicant, we don't have anything else to present to
Okay.
the commission. Certainly, if the commission has questions beyond what we talked about last week or anything that got submitted tonight, we're happy to try to answer
Okay.
them, but that pretty much concludes the presentation.
Very good, we appreciate it. And so if I know I have just one question, if anyone else has anything else to go first, but, yeah, if you don't mind, you mentioned just to clarify for me, and I apologize, it wasn't at last week's meeting, although or last month's meeting, but you just said that the driveway locations aren't set in stone, they could possibly be moved, I mean, when it goes in front of planning and zoning, is that?
Not necessarily
I'm
in
sorry,
front of planning and zoning. This application is just meant for subdivision approval, so
Right.
we have to show that
Gotcha.
each lot is feasible.
Right.
But there will be a plot plan for each individual lot, so, I mean, depending on who buys the lot, they could want the house somewhere else. That's gonna affect
Right.
the driveway location.
So that would mean that would have to come back to us, because
If there's wetlands on the property, if there were gonna be more wetlands disturbed,
Oh.
absolutely. I
Right.
mean, whether it would be required if it equaled what we have here, I'm not sure. I mean,
Well,
David, maybe you would know,
My
but.
point is just, if we were to, hypothetically approve what we have here, whether we will or not, I can't say, but if something changes, it would, and it involves wetlands. It
Absolutely.
would have to come back to us.
Yes.
I mean, it has to be, just want to be clear on that, so anyway,
Right.
that was my concern.
Sure.
If anyone has anything else to add?
Well, we keep talking about whether it includes wetlands, and that's, you're going by the actual 100-foot delineation from the wetlands. But I think this project needs to be looked at more as a whole rather than just, is it in the wetlands, is it not in the wetlands? Because what goes on in this project outside of the 100-foot barrier, because this whole project is within a piece of land that is mostly rock outcrops that are sparsely covered with soil. Some areas absolutely no soil and completely exposed, and other areas might have a few feet of soil on it. That acts as a sponge to take up water, rainwater, excessive rainwater, and slow down the effects of the wash or the sheet flow into the wetlands. And I think that needs to be considered. I also I don't feel it's right to say, well, the plot the driveways could change because they want the house here instead of there, and here we are approving something. I mean, there was still one driveway, and I'm still not clear about it. There was one driveway that was flagged out that went over a cliff, down into a gully, and then up to a lot. Has that been changed?
The driveways have not changed since the last meeting, no. Were you provided the
that-
profiles?
I had commented in the previous meeting about that particular driveway that went down a steep hill, through a gully, and then up a gentle rise to where the proposed house was. And that, at the bottom of that gully there, it's a swale.
It's a swale
And there's
between
water,
4 and 5.
there's water that runs through there.
Yep.
And you're talking, I mean, you can't have a driveway that's like a darn roller coaster, so you would have to fill it.
And it's a swale.
And
There is
you-
some filling, there is some cutting. Were you provided the profiles?
The profiles?
We submitted
Yes.
profiles on July
It was
30th.
just, it was a sheet that just showed, like,
In the
graphic,
plans we have now.
it was just graphics of what. the
I
driveways
emailed
look
them
like.
to you
But
on
they
July
would
30th.
definitely have to- Between 4 and 5, they would definitely have to fill because of.
I did not provide paper
Well,
copies.
there
I
was just-
assumed you would
It needs
email them to
drainage.
the
Now-
It
commission.
can't be filled.
Now, I think it was also very, very considerate to reduce the impact of the water crossing, but I didn't think it was a problem the way you originally had it. And I actually think that a 3-foot box culvert, 3x6, would be much easier to maintain. How are you going to clean debris and stuff that might get stuck in a 2-foot one? Who's going to clean that out? How are you going to clean it out? At least with 3-foot tall culvert, it's easy access. And I don't have a problem with your wetlands crossing in that respect at all, but I think a bigger culvert, not that it may not be necessary as far as the 100-year flood or the 500-year flood. I mean, what you're proposing is certainly, in my opinion, big enough, but I think it creates other problems by being too small. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with that driveway. And I also, is this the place to, is this the time to
Talk about the access road?
talk about some of my objections?
You can, sure.
Yeah, okay,
Express
so-
yourself, let's
yeah,
talk about it, as
so-
long as
Yeah.
it's part of the
So-
project that we're dealing with.
So
Sure.
that driveway concerns me, that goes over that steep grade. And the other thing, that concerns me is the amount of disturbance to the entire property, which I believe, everybody keeps saying, that's not going to affect the wetlands, that's not going to affect the wetlands. But I don't think that's necessarily true because it is going to change the flow of water on the entire property. Now, I've said in previous meeting as well that there is some, I won't call it natural infrastructure, but there have been roads in that property that literally follow a lot of what you want to do, but you're not utilizing any of that because you want to get an extra lot in, and in order to utilize the existing roadways on the property, those going north to lots 4, 5, and 6, and then there's roadway, very stable, going down to where you propose the crossing, instead of going through that rock mountain and going down the hill and filling and this and that. I mean, if some of that natural infrastructure were utilized, I think it would be far less disturbance on the project and on the property, and I think that the impact would be that much less. And that brings me to the last thing. Everybody keeps saying that, well, we called it the paper road to begin with, and you corrected me numerous times, and we call it now the access road, correct?
And it's an access way, it's an
Okay,
access
an
strip.
access way. And you say an access way that's not to be used. But an access way or an access road, by definition, says that it is a well, I actually wrote down or recorded the definition, but it says it's a way to be used to gain access to a, I can't do as well as the definition. By definition, it is a usable thoroughfare, and it also, in the definition, it welcomes public. So, keep saying it's a P and Z issue. I do not agree with that at all because it's going through a wetland. So I think that the access road is definitely a wetland issue. And I don't think that it should be there at all. I think it is just a gimmick in order to gain an extra lot. And based on that, I'll have a hard time even considering approving this project.
As is, me too.
As is.
With the
And
access
with,
road
and with a, and if it wasn't for the access road and this were a 5-home development, I think it can be done very well. I think you're on the right track for it. I think some changes need to be made, but I don't think you'll have a problem getting that through at all.
Because the swale between 4 and 5 also cannot be filled for a driveway, because that's a natural waterway. It's a natural swale. And so when you suggest filling, and I know this would be in the future when houses are decide where they're going to be, but that swale can't be filled. Those are my 2 cents too.
Okay. Any
Ian,
other-
is there an identified wetland
Any other
there?
comments by any chance?
I don't think there is.
For the record, Ian Cole. So, with concern, I guess, and for discussion of what the concern here, and correct me if I'm not looking at the topography here, but I mean, essentially, the water that's hitting the landscape up above, is recharging down to the wetland. In between these hard-staked hills, if there's an upland flow path, those flow paths aren't necessarily water courses. They're areas subject to stormwater flowage. I guess I would suggest, if the grading is changed, it's not changing the watershed. So the water's still making it to the well in that direction.
The whole surfaces, though, are being changed. The rate of flow is being changed. There's a lot of things being changed by doing extensive excavation to put in these driveways.
And
They
depending on
could,
where the houses are blasting and stuff too.
well, you know what, certain things have to be done, but certain things don't have to be done.
I think, along with what Jerry said, I think you and I actually walked it together. That was our biggest concern. When we walked down the rock path to go and walked up, and the driveway line of sight was basically going right across that. So we just don't understand how there's no way you could put a driveway down, even if you put a culvert at the bottom to go down and up. There would have to be an immense amount of filling with a culvert or something, because you couldn't block the flow of water because it went downhill there. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems, it's got to be addressed somehow.
But I think there's other simpler ways to get access to that lot. To get access to all the lot, most of it's good, but access to that particular lot. What number is it that crazy driveway
Either 4
goes
or
to? Is it
5.
4?
Because 4 and 5 they had the shared driveway.
We're going by the flags that we saw, because
Yeah.
we found them on both sides of
I
the,
think it's
This is
4.
lot 4 here.
Yeah.
This is lot 5.
So I think it's the driveway that goes to lot 5 because it went up through 4 and then crossed over.
The road
But-
shared driveway came in here, and then one branch this way and one branch this way, and went up and over. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's
So
4,
this
not
is the
5.
profile of
5
lot
went around.
5. The bold line is the proposed center line. The lighter dashed line shows the existing one. So there is a significant cut in the beginning. But, also this is where it meets the cul-de-sac, which is coming down a little bit, and we have to meet that cul-de-sac. So there's a cut in the initial couple hundred feet, and then everything follows the existing grade. It's pretty close. It's pretty close there.
I don't think, I'll let Attorney Lee address the access issue, but as far as,
Access disturbance, in general,
we have 6 lots on over 30 acres, 30.9 acres. And that's because it is a difficult site. We do have a lot of things we're up against here. And we've kept, the silt fence is the limit of disturbance. And we've kept it pretty close to the grading and close to the driveways and close to the houses. I mean, by no means is anyone going to go out here and clear cut anything or clear more than they have to. So I do think we've been aware.
Well, I'm concerned also with coming off the cul-de-sac, the road that goes immediately to the right or south, that comes around to the culvert crossing or the stream crossing there. That is going to require blasting out of a big part of a rock hill there. And then it's also going down a steep grade to the crossing, which is going to require a lot of filling. There's easier ways if this turns out to be a 5-lot project and not a 6-lot project. There's a lot easier ways to get to that crossing with far less disturbance. My opinion.
Do you want to address the access way?
Hi, once again, Tim Lee for the record. I know we discussed the issue of the access way last time, and I do think it really is a planning and zoning issue. And I'm asking the Wetlands Commission to evaluate this application from purely a wetlands perspective. Is there an impact to the wetlands from this application in particular? Is an impact from the wetlands from that access way? And what is the impact to the wetlands from that access way? There's no impact having that 20-foot or 25-foot wide access way. We're not proposing to build on it. We're proposing to keep it in its natural state. That access way has zero impact on the wetlands. And I know there's also been a lot of discussion about activity occurring throughout the entire 30 acres of the site. But once again, I think the commission has to evaluate those lots, those houses, that activity on whether it's going to have an impact, significant impact on a wetland or a water course. And I haven't heard any testimony or that there is going to be an impact to the wetlands or the water courses from the location of these 6 houses on these lots. As a matter of fact, Mr. Cole is here and he's going to testify that the location of those houses is not going to have a significant impact on the wetlands. He is a soil scientist. He is the only person in this room that I know of that's qualified to make that assessment unless there's a soil scientist on the board. So the only expert testimony in the record before the commission is that the activity outside of the wetlands that you expressed concern about, I appreciate the concern, is not going to have an impact on the wetlands. And because that activity is not going to have an impact on the wetlands, the state statute says the commission cannot use that concern as a basis to deny the application.
Can I ask, your engineer a few minutes ago just stated that when you sell these lots, the purchaser can change the location of the house,
Right.
which is contrary to what you just said.
I don't.
So if they can change the location of the house, then they can impact the wetlands. They can impact the driveway. Unless that's going to be fixed in stone that they can't move those houses from what you're showing us, then what you just said is invalid, and you have a conflict within your team.
No, I think you may have. I don't think that's what we said at all.
No, it is what she said.
No, she did not say that. She said that my position is the activity of the location of the houses is so far removed from the wetlands that there's no evidence in the record that it's going to have an impact on the wetlands or water courses. And that's what the commission has to consider. What Ms. Ellis stated was that a property owner may decide to change the location of the house within a lot. It may have an impact on the wetlands. It may not have an impact on the wetlands. To the extent it had an impact on the wetlands, we would have to the owner of the lot would have to come before the Wetlands Commission, or perhaps the town would sign off on its de minimis because it may be 500, 1,000 feet away from a wetland, and it may have no impact whatsoever.
Anywhere on here, that's 500
So can I ask one more question, please? So you're not developing the property then, you're just selling lots? Is that all your company's gonna do, is sell lots? They're not developing these things?
He will probably, he's subdividing the property, and he has a developer he works with, generally speaking, and that developer would develop the lots.
But the developer's not here, you're his
Correct.
representative, so we don't
Yeah.
really know what the developer wants to do.
Well, but you're here evaluating a subdivision application, and that's all we're asking you to do right now. So, that,
If I might say, I don't particularly have any problem with the location of the houses on the lots, plus they were staked out way oversized that one can juggle them around a little bit with no significant change. My problem is, how do you get to these houses? And I disagree with the whole thing coming off the cul-de-sac where it is.
right, and once again, I'm not looking to put words in your mouth. I heard you say today you didn't necessarily have a problem with the culvert crossing. You thought maybe it should be bigger rather than smaller. And you also, I heard say you had a concern with, I'll call it the roller coaster driveway, and the impact. But once again, I'm just asking you to evaluate that, and I'll call it the roller coaster driveway for lack of
I'm
a.
totally evaluating it with the wetlands in mind because of the amount of rock excavation and blasting that you plan on doing. I am convinced, and nobody's given me any proof yet, that it will not affect the sheet flow, which will affect the wetlands.
So what I would ask you to ask is, we have a soil scientist here and we have an engineer here, and ask him that the question is, what impact will that driveway have on the wetlands or the watercourse? I'm not qualified to answer that question, so I can't give you an answer, but I'll ask Ian to answer the question.
I think what Jerry's trying to say is that, yes, we have a 100-foot buffer that we regulate, with the exception of the Farm River, but we still have the right to regulate areas outside of the 100-foot buffer. If we think that there's this water flow or something, or a blockage or an alternate way of that water flow that could affect this project. So we do have the right to look at that. I mean, we don't want to extend our,
Yep.
our jurisdiction everywhere, but we do have, just so you know, that's where we're concerned.
I agree with the statement you just made. I think that the commission does have an upland review area, and they can evaluate activity that occurs outside the wetlands. No question about that. But when you're evaluating that activity that occurs outside the inland wetlands itself, you're going to evaluate it based on the impact that activity is going to have on a wetland or watercourse. And if that activity has no impact on a wetland or watercourse, then the applicant's entitled to get approval. So all I'm saying is, I'm not qualified to make a determination as to whether the activity occurring in the upland review area has an impact on the wetlands or watercourses. My guess is the only person here that's a qualified soil scientist is Mr. Cole. The commission may want to ask his opinion. Is that activity occurring outside the upland review area going to have an impact on the wetlands or watercourses? And get the expert opinion from him as to what that impact may or may not be.
Okay, that's fine.
For the record, Ian Cole. I understand the concern with accessing some of those steeper topography and rockier sites off to the side there. With regards to the roller coaster driveway, it's my opinion, while it's a survey engineering exercise and a design challenge to maybe navigate some of those slopes, in layman's terms, the construction of that driveway is not going to starve the wetland of water. It's not going to dewater the wetland. It's not going to flood the wetland. Flow that's landing on the ground surface is still going to migrate its way and recharge the wetland. Whether that changes small drainage patterns in the upland area up above, I think water's still going to make it down to that wetland. So I think it's a design challenge, not necessarily a wetland impact issue. And in terms of water quality,
Except if they fill, so it's not such a steep. If that swale is filled, it will disturb the water flow.
the surface water flow will be just changed through grading patterns, through sheet flow and whatnot, but everything ground flow, so it's still going to, the pitch of that lane is still going to always go down towards the wetland.
You haven't been out there, obviously. This is a gully like this, and the water goes that way, and if you're gonna fill it here, the water here cannot make it there.
And it's gonna back up the other way.
So,
But it's not a wetland. Your concern,
right, but
your
it's,
concern is an
But it-
erosional feature in an upland area that's not a
No,
wetland.
that's not my
That is-
concern. This
that is
runs
ours.
right into the
but
wetland.
what we would refer to as an intermittent water course.
But it's
which-
not an intermittent water course.
Well, we're trying to clarify. I'm arguing, I'm just saying
So-
that's, I'm just trying to get you to
Yeah,
understand
yeah, so it's
because,
not, so the area of concern, what you're talking about
Disturbed
is
Magnolia.
concentrated overland flow during a storm event between basically hard ground where there's exposed
been
bedrock
around for
and
the
whatnot,
most part.
right?
It's been
So the
around.
ground doesn't absorb it, you got a high rate of runoff.
it's gonna move, right?
That area does not meet the definition or criteria to be defined as an intermittent water course.
Well, it just would seem that in a rate of high rain in that gully, that, because I know Jerry Fishback and I stood there, and so the other members, it just.
You
Understood.
could actually see watermarks on.
We're just trying to get it, we're not trying to be
Understood.
argumentative, we just want to understand.
Neither,
because
I'm
from
just
our
saying,
point,
from a wetlands perspective, I don't believe
I
you're
don't
gonna wind
consider it
up.
wetlands, but as we said, we consider it potentially a problem if water is sheeting down there and you're just filling it in, the water's, it's that natural sheeting that occurs now, where we don't see anything addressing that, like, I mean, do you need to put a culvert in there, to bury it in there to make sure
I guess
that
I would
water
defer to
doesn't
the
back up?
I guess I would defer to the professional engineer who designed the site. They have provided and certified for the record, that the ENS controls are in place. This meets the stormwater guidelines. So for all those reasons, and we could hear testimony from the engineering firm, I don't believe that there's going to be an adverse or significant impact from the construction of the driveway. I get the challenges and the concerns, though.
So,
Go ahead, Jerry.
no, I
Jump
mean,
in.
I'm not gonna, I agree with everything that you've said to a point. Let's leave that alone for a minute. That access road does go through wetland, and in my opinion, the wetland demarcation there of the green does not show the whole picture. I've walked through there 100 times. And that entire, once you get down,
Down here?
Yes.
that whole
thing
thing
is
up to about 50, 60 feet from West Pond Road is wet. And it's not marked there as a wetland, but it is wet year-round. And even if it wasn't, you're still going through a wetland with the access road.
But once again, what activity are you concerned about that's occurring in that access road that you
I'm
think is?
not concerned about any activity that you're proposing. I'm concerned about the activity that could happen down the road.
Okay, well, I don't know how to, I mean, if that's true of any,
But it's-
anybody in any applications, they could come before you, get an approval, and 5 years later, they could, fill in a wetland. I mean, I appreciate the
It's just
concern.
something- This is very unusual in all my
Is in
30 years.
wetlands and we can control
We're just
it.
trying to understand,
Granting
we've
an
never,
access road.
we've never had an application like this where you proposed whatever you want to call an access way. And to say that nothing's going to be done now, and I believe at this moment, nothing will be done, it'll be natural. But by approving it and not knowing when it could be, disturbed, it's just a very different new concept to us. You got to understand, I've never dealt with this.
Fair enough, and we did have
We want to
that,
be fair to you, and we want to be fair to,
Yeah.
the property owners.
I get it, and we did have that conversation last month, that we were not proposing any activity within that area, and if there's something that the commission needed to make as a condition of approval to satisfy themselves, so there'd be no activity, the commission has the discretion to do that. Obviously, if 10 years down the road, somebody tried to fill that wetland, I assume the wetlands enforcement officer would issue a cease and desist, and they'd be dragged in here just as if anybody else who got a wetlands permit violated the conditions of the permit, they would get dragged in here. So I would ask you to, well, yeah.
In theory, no, you're correct.
I mean, but that's, yeah, I mean, that's the way those things get resolved. Yeah.
It just is a very gray area for us, that's all. We're just very uncomfortable, again, I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm not,
Yeah.
but it's something we've never faced before.
Right.
And we're just uncomfortable about allowing, that to happen. We don't know what'll happen in the future. Maybe 100 years will go by and no one will ever need that. We don't know.
Well, the other thing that may happen is, I think you evaluate this based on impact to the wetlands, and I don't think there's an impact to the wetlands from that access way, but planning and zoning may not may find that it doesn't meet the planning and zoning regulations either. We're just trying to get through wetlands right now to get our chance to explain
Problem is
what the
that
application.
If we approve it, and again, I'm not gonna say we will or we won't, but if we prove it, then planning zoning will say, well, wetlands said it was, they could interpret it this, I'm just.
Yeah, I
They looked to
don't,
us first as the first approval, so I don't know I don't know what they'll say. I wish I did. I wish I could have a crystal ball and see what they would say about it.
Yeah.
And it probably would clear up some stuff, but
Yeah.
anyway.
me too. Thanks.
So, go ahead, Bob, if you have a question.
Yeah,
Go right
a
ahead.
question for the soil scientist. Thank you. At our last meeting, I had a question about the soil itself, and you responded that it was largely, my observation, basalt outcrops. And I don't know if there's any sandstone layers anywhere there, and you just now said that the water will find its way down to the north, or will down to the wetlands to recharge. So even though it's basalt, it will find its way through basalt, correct? There's cracks.
Sure, yeah.
You don't have to
Water
have sandstone
transmits,
layers.
water transmits through bedrock, yes. Yeah.
So would you say primarily that that's how
Not,
the water is
not very,
recharging the aquifer?
not very quickly.
The question is the question that primarily
Well, I mean, is it primarily the aquifer that feeds or contributes to the and
the
that
wet,
recharge slowly over time through
so the wetland on site here is both, hydrology sources, both from groundwater and from surface water. So it's a dual thing. So it's not like you're in an area where, you would be in, say, stratified sands and gravels, and you'd be like, this is clearly a groundwater-fed recharge area.
Okay.
So it's obviously a low spot in the landscape. You have a lot of, elevated terrain around it, a lot of hardscape. So, yeah, I mean, it's an area where it's both surface and groundwater.
How do you know that it's groundwater? You're saying springs coming up?
Yes, yep.
How do you know that?
If you go, because the wetland, how do you know that? Because of the soil type that's there,
Okay.
because of the topography, the site setting, the juxtaposition in the landscape, the same, it's at the same elevation of the lakes that are just to the north of it, those are all groundwater fed. And then surface water fed, there's obvious, runoff from the uplands that discharge down into the wetland feature.
So then why during times of drought, the stream does not run?
That section could be perched. So like where the intermittent water courses that's through here, they're different soil types. So in the interior of this is kind of deep organics, and then underneath that, there's some layers of sands and whatnot. But through here, it's more glacial tip. So, the wetland systems in here are kind of more perched. So where the bedrock kind of confines down, and then the wetland areas are kind of sitting in those saddles where you have, deeper material.
So I brought this up the last time. I mean, this map only delineates the wetland to the property border. And I asked last time, well, where is the rest of it? You just said now that this is at the same level as clearly.
Generally speaking.
I
Generally speaking.
I mean, there's two big hills in the road going down. This is at the top of the higher hill, this wetland. The lakes are considerably lower, 60 feet, 50 feet, something like that. I mean, I know the area,
Yeah.
but I just don't know what's beyond.
Beyond this, there's a large wetland this way, and then a lot of open space to the south.
Okay.
I forget.
None of that wetland drains in any other direction.
This wetland primarily drains to the south, and up in this direction, it also drains probably, also into the northeast.
Okay, because, there's,
But the primary, for this wetland here, the primary focus is
Okay.
along to the south.
What about the other area? Are there wetlands on the other side where that access road is?
This area here?
All that area there, are there wetlands
The
there?
focus of my investigation was for the wetland impact area, and because there's no activities over here, quite honestly, this wasn't the focus of my investigation of what I was asked to look at.
yeah, there's,
There's no activities over in this area. This area's gotta be 600 feet away from, the closest activities.
As of this moment, there isn't, but it's possible that when you go to the next step, they'll come back and say you need to put an access road in. because there's more than 5.
And to everybody's point, if any activity occurs on the property that's not shown on the plans, they would have to come back.
I understand. Yeah, what bothers me about this plan is it's not solid. It's loose. And you have a great engineer here, but there's no saying that X months or year down the road, that engineer is gonna come in here and gonna do the work, and will understand the things we've talked about today. And that bothers me a lot, because I understood you were developing, not you personally, but this was gonna be developed as you laid out, and now I'm under the impression that, well, this is just a scheme, and it can be changed when somebody buys the lot. And that bothers me an awful lot.
Yeah, I guess just for talking points, it's
Yeah.
not uncommon in the development world, and I don't think, if the idea is, I don't think there's substantial changes that happen, meaning, obviously, the crossing point can't change, where some of the utilities and stuff and the septic systems, those are all kind of signed off.
What about, did you guys do well drilling to determine the water quality that these homes are gonna receive? Did you do that as part of your study?
It's all iron.
Yeah, it's all, we don't tell you.
I can tell you now.
It's all iron, Frank, our neighborhood is full.
So,
but-
so you're building you're developing lots where the drinking water quality is poor?
No,
No.
you just need water softeners,
just need
filters,
that.
you need water conditioners, and the water
Alright.
comes out fine
That
after.
that isn't required.
That's-
It's
yeah.
the perk text for East Shore, though, for the septics, that's all we've done, I assume. So.
I will say, whether this makes you feel better or not, I mean, as an engineer, sometimes we're hired to do plot plans for subdivisions that other engineers have gotten approved. We always get the maps that have been approved. I mean, you need your reference maps to even draw the plan. And we know, as any other professional engineer should, if you're adhering to the wetlands disturbance that was approved, you likely don't need another approval. But we would still consult with David or whoever his counterpart is in the town we're working in. If on that plot plan, we were proposing more wetlands disturbance than what was approved, we know, as any other engineer, that you need wetlands approval. So they would absolutely have to come back in front of this board if it wasn't our company.
Isn't there anything you can do about that driveway to lot 5? I mean, it seems to me,
It's either 4 or
it can,
5.
it's 4 or 5. It seems to me it can go around and get to the same place without going over that cliff.
I think that's 4.
I mean, it's between 4 and 5, right?
Yeah.
Gully that we tracked down and up.
Around the corner.
Right, but 4 was
So
the one that
4
went across,
was
right? Was that the one that you looked, you saw the 2 markers on both sides of the hill, right?
Yeah, the
Are you
one we
concerned
walked
closer to the cul-de-sac or closer to the houses?
to the houses. I'm concerned with other things closer to the cul-de-sac, but
I mean,
it's not what I'm
this is
asking.
4 and this is 5, and as you get closer to the house, we're pretty close to grade. I mean, here, is this the gully you're talking about? right here?
I can't tell from the map. I could barely tell where I was when I walked it, quite honestly. But I did. I went down, I followed I went down the gully.
Here's a topography.
This one helps.
This still helps better, because
Yeah, I think it's 4 as
Between
well.
4 and 5.
it kind of drops right there. Yeah, there's the driveway, it kind of goes, see the,
I mean, there are a lot
It's
of
right
routes
there.
That
So-
driveway could take, but again, I
Where-
don't know
Where's the driveway to 5 then?
where the house is
Around
gonna be
the corner.
located. This is just conceptual to prove that it would work.
That's 5, and this is the one I believe we looked at. Remember, we stood here and looked
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
gully and up, and that's where we were concerned about, that area right there. 'Cause it was
It's
all
between
rocky.
4 and 5, right?
Right.
You and I were standing at that exact location, and then you trekked down and then back
It
up.
was right, if you look on,
Mm-hmm.
if you look on, whatever number this is, 13 sheet, I guess the last sheet, if you pull it out, it shows the location of the driveway exactly, if you guys don't have it, that's what I'm looking at.
Well,
Do you want to,
it's not exact,
Well,
because they said
what-
they can change it.
What I mean is, it shows the exact location in this moment as we're
Right, that
looking
one
at
we
it.
looked at.
And this is what,
put it on board,
yeah, for everyone, just, that might help.
so Ann could look at it.
Yeah, sure. At least this way you'll understand exactly.
If you should bring a flashlight.
The fluorescent, that's why.
So it wasn't really 5 we were concerned, it's the 4. I'm
I
pretty
guess
sure
it's, I guess it's 4.
4 is the one that, I mean, they're almost side by,
But I,
I don't know anybody who wanted to buy, I guess.
it has to be that according to the map. But it seemed like I walked.
can I come up and I can maybe show, I don't mean to.
This is called wetlands, and this is.
I can show you exactly.
This is where we were,
So when we did the sidewalk,
Unless we approve building within the
up
100
top there,
foot.
there was two markers, and right across, you can see, basically right across, where, so you, and we walked up and we saw the marker of the house, right. It goes, that's what we're concerned about. It just seems like it was a fresh there, it was very rocky, it's like water.
Of course.
Flowed there, obviously.
Oh, I
There's not gonna
absolutely.
be any penetration or absorption there, so that was our concern. If you're gonna build this driveway,
Access road to
we just
wetlands.
wanted to, because there's no culvert, that's where our concern, right? I'm sorry, I'm gonna block it out, the driveway forward, if you guys wanna come up and look.
Yeah, I see.
We have it right here.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, or am I on the same page?
Yeah.
Well, there's no straight across.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no straight across. They want to fill the
After you
swale.
do the grading, does still continue towards the wetlands.
Right.
If I could just look at some-
5 was not an issue, right?
Since you're up here.
5 went around, it still had some of the
But not
stuff,
as
but
bad.
not like
Just-
4.
just-
So here's lot 4.
This
This
is
is the
4.
proposed center line.
That goes
That's
up
the
and down.
existing
And
center.
through,
This is fine.
So this is the
through
depression you're
this.
talking about.
Is that okay?
So,
The
yes,
swale goes
this
right
in here will be
between.
filled, each box is 5 feet, so
All right,
that's
and the water
probably in
So it's going to
in
affect
this
two
area.
drivers.
up
This
by
one
the
and
house,
this one,
where
it
the
flows
house is.
down.
Well, no, this is
There's
going.
a 7-foot fill.
No, this is going downhill.
You're also putting the house
You
there,
think
so
it
you're.
flows back with this
I don't
one?
think it flows
You
that
know,
way.
back here.
Oh, no,
that's
'cause this
the
went
cut.
up.
And we
Right,
try
yeah,
to
this
follow
one.
the grade as best
The
as we
swale
can.
goes this way. There's a gully right
I mean,
here.
the house was
You know,
fine,
like the
It
driveway
wasn't,
is-
once we got to the house, no, it's fine, that made sense, it was, you know, it was,
Yeah.
and the marks,
No,
again,
there's a
we
gully
appreciate
that goes
the
between these
markers,
two
and they were
lots.
actually wider than
That
these, so
was
they're.
high on this side, high on this
without
side,
really
and went
any
right
issues
through
at
the
all.
middle
I
right
mean,
there.
as you can see, we were trying to follow the
That's
general
to
shape.
either this wetland area
We
or this
understand where
one.
we're
If they
standing, right?
fill
We're
Yeah,
here,
trying to
it's gonna
understand
back
how-
up this
what we
way.
saw, you know.
And it's not gonna
And at the time,
replenish this one.
when you do the plot
What
plan,
this does
this
is
where the
now it
driveway
has
path
2
goes, and you
driveways
need
that it
culvert.
impacts the water flow.
Well, that's.
Parallel to that
I
gully.
know if-
I thought they were gonna, right from here, go straight across with a fill or bridge that gap, right? But it looks like they pushed the driveway this way.
That's okay.
See,
Here's their
I'm
point.
not
If you
remembering
think-
that there was a
as you
hill
said,
here
you need a
and
culvert,
over here, and the gully
at
went this
least we
way.
would
See,
know,
I
you know,
just
that
thought-
it would acknowledge
I
that.
thought
We're
this
just
just turned.
address these are just really is.
Yeah, the
And you wouldn't- you wouldn't-
And there are many culverts on many driveways across the town. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a water course.
No,
It's an area of concentrated flow because of all
Of heavy rain, oil, people.
well, just that and the function of this particular landscape right here. Slopes, shallow
Right,
slopes, high bedrock.
it's not a level, it's, right, it's a unique site where there's a lot of change in elevation and, you know, it's not like a nice flat meadow here we're dealing with, so.
And, you know, we're definitely pulling the grade this way, but as I said, it's still flowing in the front. So that goes in.
And again, that was our concern, so you think it'll still flow if you fill in there, you just wanna make sure there's no water, which will make it, you know, it's gonna flow and make it.
It's still gonna flow. Unless we grade them to build it.
Thank you for participating in that, I appreciate it.
If they want to cultivate, ask for one, that's fine. The driveway might go somewhere else in the end. Yeah, I mean, right. It's, that's a tight one. Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to understand this where it feels like it's gonna cause some harm as well.
I feel like they think the driveway's gonna cut off
Just flow.
with the way it's graded. It's not.
No.
It's just,
Yeah, sheet flow over.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I don't. think
That's what I'm
they-
trying to
I don't think they
misunderstand.
should.
Hmm?
I don't think they understand.
Yeah.
So,
You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe, it's funny you say that because I hate to prolong anything, but I would really like to stand in that same spot we stood and just try to
just-
understand this better before I approve it. It's just,
I felt that we were pretty lost the first time, and no disrespect, you had a hard time finding things as well.
hard with the wooded site.
It was very hard, but,
covered a lot.
and then the group split up, and we all saw different things, and it just wasn't very,
The rain didn't help.
But I think, like you said, that everything else, we were able to see, we don't have a huge issue with.
but I think everybody has a much better idea now and knows what to look at.
Right, that's what I'm
We
saying.
had
can
no
fo-
idea what we were looking
What
at
I'm saying
when we-
is we can focus on the areas that we have the issues with. There may be multiple, that's all I'm saying, or some issues.
I would like another site look.
Yes,
I think also, these plans are much more detailed, and they've been modified since we did the sidewalk, right?
Correct.
So I mean, as far as getting a sense of where are we and what are we actually looking at, this is much more valuable to me.
especially with the
And
driveway
now-
location there was specifically.
I remember standing on that exact same spot that you and I, that we were, and two of you went down, so I'm not going down. You went truck
Yeah,
down and
Jerry
went
and I
back
did,
up, you
yes,
know?
yes. That's why it's ingrained in my
So
mind, because I
when
remember what
when
it's.
I saw that location, obviously water's going down this. But no, I think these plans are much more detailed, and they've been modified somewhat, I think, from your original plans. And, yeah, I would see value in revisiting. I mean, I know that's a little out of line, but,
Well, I would love to
Get a
stand in
better,
that driveway
more budget
again with
for it, yeah.
everyone together and just stand where we were standing and get another look at, and just look where we think, what we were concerned about. Obviously, it wasn't just one person.
But I still believe, though, that the access road, we were calling it a paper road, and probably would have been better to stick with that, I think. But as far as an access road is concerned, access means you have the ability to go through there, and that does go through wetlands, and I just don't think it should be there.
And we have the
well-
ability to regulate that.
And because it goes through wetlands, if it didn't touch any wetlands, I think you are absolutely correct in what you said, but it goes through wetlands.
Two things before we talk about, talk about the access road first, because once again, you call it what you want, call it a road, call it a highway, call it a meadow, call it a swamp. There's no activity being proposed there, so there's
Right, but
nothing for you to
the Boston
regulate.
Post Road was once a foot trail and then a carriage trail and so on and so forth. Look at
Correct.
it today from Maine to Key West.
Right, and if you wanted to add an addition to the Boston Post Road now that went through a wetland or watercourse, you'd have to go through the local land wetlands commission to do that, just like if somebody's going to put a paved road through that piece of land, they would have to come before the commission. So that's issue number one. We've talked about that a lot. I think ultimately it is a P&Z issue. In terms of going out to the property, if you want to look at that we're happy to make arrangements with the commission. I did talk to Annette and Ian about the fill to get in that driveway. They think that fill is not going to have any impact on the overland sheet flow of the water. That being said, if you go out there and you say, hey, we think it would be better with a culvert, we can put a culvert there. We'd like to cooperate with the commission. We'd like to try to address the concerns. And then from our perspective, that's to the extent there is, we don't think there is a problem with that, but to the extent there is a problem, we can solve that with a culvert, which is a fairly, from an engineering perspective, a fairly simple way to address the concern of the commission.
And I just think if we could go back there, because things were kind of fragmented that day. We did cover, it was a big plot, we covered, and we were trying to do the best we could to navigate. I just think if we could go with that and focus on that, among other things, but that's the main, if we could actually stand there and look and maybe just look at that again, that would be very helpful to us. And then, if we want to recommend a culvert or whatever the members decide, whatever, I'm just throwing it down. I just think it'd be better to see it again, because it's been a while, it's been a couple months, and it's a big, we think it's a big issue, so we just want to be fair to everyone. And
Yeah,
make
that's,
an informed, decision.
we're not opposed to that.
How does everyone feel? Yes, Bob?
Well, I want to make an observation. Some of you may not follow roads and highways the way I do, but, and I'm not saying I'm a flaming environmentalist, but I have an interest, otherwise I wouldn't be here, all right? But let me bring something to your attention. Back in, I guess it was the early 90s, maybe the late 80s, as part of the interstate highway system, they wanted to drive Interstate 93 right through their state park, the Old Man of the Mountains, that thing, that Franconia Notch, whatever it is. And you had one camp that said, absolutely not, you're never building anything. And the state traffic commission said, well, we have to build this, we have federal funding, and we're going to ram this through whether you like it or not. bottom line is cooler heads prevailed, and they actually talked to each other instead of at each other, and they actually built the road. So the highway department changed their specs. They had, wildlife overpasses that are there today and in use, and it won awards, and the road got built. So it was a case of people actually sitting down, trying to figure out what their interests were, and it's a remarkable example of how to do it and do it right. So I'm seeing flexibility here. I'm seeing the fact that you just mentioned a possibility of a culvert if that's deemed necessary. And I also like their willingness to agree to another site visit. I would like a site visit myself. I have a better understanding now of the site. I have a little confusion about that knoll there, because I think I was looking this way, and you're saying I was looking that way. So I think another site visit would be in order. And I don't think it would unduly delay this project. I hate to see delays just for delay's sake. I'd like to move things along. But there's obviously some concerns here. So that's my recommendation. Let's keep working it, keep talking it, and let's get it.
I think the next, thing to do is, I'm sorry, Frank, do you have something to say?
No, I was just gonna say, again, the thing that concerns me is because this is just a proposal, so you do this site walk, and we go, okay, we wanna put a culvert, but then they walk away, and somebody else is gonna develop that property, and they can do what they want.
Well, no.
Unless it's set in stone.
Well,
Is it gonna be
Will the
set in
drive-
stone?
Your approval is set in stone.
Well,
So you
I
approve,
don't feel
you,
that- I'm sorry, I don't feel that warm fuzzy feeling that's set in stone because of my experience, because now you're gonna have another developer come in here, you're gonna have other people building on the property, and they're gonna do something different.
Well-
And I can see that happening, I'm sorry, I just don't see that being set in stone. And I can see us not even knowing about it.
any approval is set in stone to the extent the applicant and the owner can only do what they have permission from the commission to do. So whether,
We know that's just not.
It's not true.
then you should disband
We
the.
wouldn't be dealing with violations.
We understand
I
in theory
agree.
if the world were, but to answer Frank, I mean, obviously, if we go there and we make a recommendation and we don't,
I
at
agree.
least, the very least, we can approve it and make sure it's on a revised map, obviously, yeah. Like, we understand what could happen in the woods, but, it could happen to any project, and we gotta just put our best foot forward and just make a decision on
But
this
you know,
one way or another. And I think the best way to go out is do a sidewalk, at least do that, let's just,
Agree.
right, and let's just get a fresh perspective on what we now know, what we didn't know before, and then we'll move from there,
Is the public meeting still open?
Technically,
We would need to continue the public hearing
Yeah,
to do so.
I believe it is.
We can grant another
It wasn't the last
continuance,
meeting, I don't think it was closed, because we're still.
And I guess on any sidewalk, the public can attend, they just
Yeah.
can't speak?
Yeah, technically, yes.
Or they can't talk to us.
Or they talk to us.
Issues relative to the wetlands process, plan and zoning process,
Right.
and then lot development process.
So, to try to ease the concern is generally the way it goes with any project, is if there's a wetlands on the project, you submit an application to inland wetlands, and then you would go to planning and zoning, either for a subdivision or a special permit, whatever the application was. Once that all gets approved and whatever revised maps get submitted to the town, the owner would then come in and ask for a zoning permit in order to start the construction and the development of the site. If the plans were in order, the plans that got approved by the commission and planning and zoning, subject to whatever conditions, if the revised plans are submitted that meet those conditions, the town issues a zoning permit. The developer then goes out and develops the property. During the course of that development, the town will inspect from time to time. When the development is completed from the developer's perspective, he will ask the planning and zoning office for a certificate of zoning compliance. The town will then go out and inspect the development to see if it was developed in accordance with the plans that got approved by wetlands and planning and zoning. So for instance, if we propose, if the commission approved this application subject to the driveway being exactly as it is on this plan, and it turns out that the driveway is 50 feet over, the town would not issue a certificate of zoning compliance because the project was not built in accordance with the plans. Because the town did not issue a certificate of zoning compliance, the owner could not get a a CO, certificate of occupancy, because in order to get a CO to allow people to live there, they need to get a zoning sign off, and we never get a zoning sign off if the project was not built in accordance with the plans. So there are those safety factors that are built into the system to make sure that the applicant and developer complete the project as approved by the town. So I think you can feel fairly confident that what you approve will be what gets built on the site.
And the driveway easements going across other properties are gonna be on the submitted Mylar to the town clerk that says this is where the easement for the driveway is. So you won't be able to move the common driveway without going back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, getting a site plan subdivision modification. You may be able to, you're gonna be able to change your driveway on your lot, subject to zoning permit, but you're not gonna be able to change the common one.
Bottom line, any change, will obviously, your set of eyes will be on it too also. I'm sure you're involved anytime anything
Well,
gets resubmitted or whatever. Town staff administration is gonna review it, right, I assume, right?
Right.
And you're part of that, so that way,
Right.
you'd be definitely one of the people that would catch that or be a part of the
Right, and they'll
inspection.
come back when they get the zoning permit for the individual lot, as Annette said, if they're changing the house and
Right.
now there's wetlands on the property and you're closer to it, we come back to you.
That's why each lot needs its own zoning permit, because obviously.
And it may need its own wetlands permit.
Permit, right, exactly, whatever, but everything is focused at that point on the lot by lot, so that way, it's not a blanket approval, so.
So just to facilitate going out to the property, on behalf of the applicant, we'd be willing to consent to a continuation of the public hearing to your next meeting in September. That would allow the commission time to go out to the property. We prefer the commission go out sooner rather than later, so that if there are changes we need to incorporate in the plan, we'd be able to incorporate those changes and discuss them with you at your September meeting.
So we'll do the site walk, hopefully, obviously, before the next meeting, so we'll make a motion to continue it, that's not a problem, as long as you're okay with that. So my next question is what is a good time to do that? Obviously, Labor Day weekend probably wouldn't be a good time, but we got
The
probably.
following weekend is
yeah.
fine.
Following Saturday?
I'm open.
Sixth
Yep.
or seventh is fine with me.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm 30 days out from
That's a Saturday.
surgery.
I'm good anytime.
Well, if you can't make it,
I will make it.
Okay. We managed to stumble down there
I'll
ourselves.
bring my walker.
That's right.
So it looks like the 6th.
6, okay.
Yeah, Sunday mornings, I have other obligations.
That's fine.
Sunday morning, what about Saturdays?
Saturday.
We can do.
Saturday, yeah, it's the 6th, right, okay. Why don't we, is that?
What
is that
day?
Saturday the 6th? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
What time?
Frank, there's a lot of.
Would you want to do about 10 o'clock? How about 10 o'clock? That's not too late, not too early.
Yeah, that's good.
And it will be a lot quicker than the last one, because we're gonna obviously go right and focus on the areas in question. We won't be doing a,
This has to be like public notice and all that, or no?
yeah.
Is that enough time to do a public
Yeah.
notice?
Do you need a
I mean, once you open the public hearing, you can continue the public hearing to a specific date. So we can just say we're going to continue the public hearing to the September meeting and also continue it to September 6th, and that would suffice as far as
Then
notice.
people will know that,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, because once you open the public hearing, you can continue the
We just
public
wanna make
hearing.
sure that if any
Yeah.
public wants to attend, obviously they can.
No, you can post notice on the website too. I'm not, you go ahead and do that, but.
Are you interested in any expert testimony from anybody else?
Right now, I think the important thing is for us to get to that area that we're all concerned about and look at it again. Unless you have any suggestions,
We need to see
Dave?
the
I mean,
site.
It's
like to
it's
see
up to
the
us,
whole
it's
thing.
up to you, you only have, the two professionals that
Right,
you've heard from.
Yeah. We don't need to see the whole site.
yeah, just the areas in question.
Only the areas that
Yeah.
we're concerned about.
The main one is the driveway.
Right.
And the cross, we can always look at that again, but those two areas, we won't have to roam the whole site, is what I'm saying. We'll
Right.
focus on the areas that we're concerned, or whoever, any area that you're concerned about, but I think those are the two.
Yeah, that's it.
Not a wetlands
Access
issue, but Annette, are you aware that there is a huge glacial erratic in the living room of house number 1?
Wait a minute, you mentioned magic words for me.
There's
Well,
a
the site
big,
visit-
huge boulder sitting on top of a ledge of rock. It was deposited there probably approximately 11,000 years ago when the glaciers melted.
Well, it might not be where the house ends up.
Well, maybe they could use it as
It's
like
a
a coffee
feature.
table
They
in
could
the living
charge
room.
Definitely
or
a
Yeah,
something.
you could decorate it. It would be a very unique piece, when you're entertaining.
You know, Frank would
There's a
incorporate,
lot of history
Right,
right
you
there.
would, yeah.
House around it, right?
he'd be in the living room.
That's right. So just to rephrase, just to summarize, then Saturday, 6 o'clock, I'm sorry, Saturday, September 6th at 10 o'clock, we'll all meet at the site.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, yeah.
Okay.
Is that all
Very
right?
good.
Sure.
10 o'clock, everyone good with that? Okay.
Do we need to see if there's any public comments?
Yes, I was gonna get to that. I just want to, and next thing I'll do is I'll open it up for the comments, and if there, and after that, we'll just need a motion to extend the public hearing. We'll do that. So at this moment, we can open up to the public if anyone has anything additional things they want to say. Now's the time. Feel free. Otherwise, what we'll do is we're gonna extend the public hearing, so you will have another chance next week. So if you don't, yep, you're welcome to come up if you want. Just identify yourself for the record.
Frank Angeloni. I'm a resident on Glenwood Road. Just a quick comment or question. I'm not sure on that access road, is it confirmed that it is wetlands? Because Mr. Cole, I don't think confirmed it, being the soil scientist. I'm not sure, has it been defined as
The
wetland?
culvert crossing?
No, the access road.
The access- Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, access, yeah, yeah.
That's confirmed.
There is some wetlands on there, yes. He
Okay.
Didn't focus on that area.
he didn't focus
There
on,
is
but
wetlands.
it is on the map, so there are some wetlands in that proposed access road.
And the purpose of I know they call it a paper access road, so the purpose of that is to fulfill what?
For sixth lot.
Emergency access.
It's
So
not-
the way I understand the town ordinance is, if there's more than 5 houses, there has to be another means of ingress and egress. God forbid you need an ambulance or fire trucks to get in there.
So what'll happen is that, that's what we're debating now. This will have to eventually go to the planning and zoning, they'll have to make a determination on that. But our charge is, there is some wetlands there, so that's our concern.
So right now, their assumption is that building and zoning is not going to require them to build the access road.
And the assumption is also that it will not be developed.
So the answer to the question is that
Got that right?
on a road ending in a cul-de-sac cannot have more than 12 houses built on it.
Right.
This would max it out at 13. So they're proposing another access way for that lot. So there are only 12 that have access.
So if I could propose something in the spirit of what Bob said, compromise, if they were to take out lots 1 and 2, where the culvert is, would there still be need of an access road?
No.
If they just took out 1 or 2 or any lot, there would be no further need for an access road.
So removing those 2 lots, the access road would not be needed at all?
Moving just one
Just
lot.
one, that would, the math would work, if that's what you're asking, yes.
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak at this point? All right, then what we'll do is we'll just close the public portion of this particular meeting at this moment. Next, unless anyone else has other questions or anything, we need a motion to extend the public hearing in lieu of our sidewalk.
Just for clarification, are we extending it to the sidewalk date, or are we
No, to
extending it
next
to the
meeting.
next meeting?
Next meeting, yeah. Yep.
Well, I guess the question is, and it's probably a silly question, you just explained the 12 per cul-de-sac rule, and then this makes it 13, so poof, now this other requirement comes in. Did I hear that right?
That's basically it.
Right,
It's
that's what
a
we've all been
it's a
arguing.
regulatory
So-
requirement, not a wetlands.
There are rules and there are other rules, right? So
Right,
are there
exactly.
any?
One trips,
Yeah,
that,
well,
it tripped that rule.
I guess the question is, are there any provisions in statute for waivers?
It's a P and Z, right?
I mean, I can't answer, could it happen? I mean, we don't know what'll happen when this gets done.
Do you mean like a variance?
Yeah, or a waiver. Here, like, we have this rule, but we have a legal process to waive that rule.
I mean,
on
that would be a
certain
question for
conditions.
Dave, because I don't, he would.
No,
No, okay.
The rule's the rule, and that's it.
correct.
Gotcha.
You could apply for variance.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You need a hardship for variance.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Hardship cannot be self-created or financial.
Okay.
So there's a route to get that variance, but it's not a, it's not a simple.
And the hardship,
Got it.
the hardship has
Okay.
to be on the owner, or can the hardship be on the land?
The hardship is on the nature of the land.
Okay.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, that was good. Yeah.
So then they would have to apply for a variance for the sixth lot.
All right, so then, again, any other questions for the applicants or anything else? And then, if we could, if someone would like to make the motion and have a second.
I'll make a motion to, is it table it, or?
Extend.
Extend the public hearing to the next regular
Extend the public
meeting.
hearing to our next regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we're all set for the next meeting and our site walk on September 6th, 10 o'clock.
You too.
Oh, thank you. You too. Okay, next we're going to move under old business. Would that be, we just have some questions on the minutes, the last two sets of minutes. Would that be, if we table it, could we discuss that now? Dave, when's a good time to pop that, or should we wait till right before adjournment? You want to do your wetlands, because we don't have any new business, you want to do your wetlands enforcement, why don't you do your wetlands enforcement officer report, and we'll do the minutes last. That's all right.
So we did discuss the 175 Twin Lakes Road last meeting, and the applicant did come in and fill out an application and pay the $100 fee, which is 4 times the $25 fee for an agent authorized, and I signed it.
Okay.
They will be back when they have plans for building the house.
Question about that. The application, on the application, there was a little drawn map showing the square in it. Was that to designate what was cleared?
Yeah.
I think it went closer to the lake than what it actually shows. I think there are a couple of trees, big trees down practically on the shore within a few feet.
There weren't any that close to the lake. I mean, there was some brush, but there wasn't any.
I mean, I saw some pretty good sized stumps that were within a few feet. When I say a few feet, somewhere between 0 and 10. I don't know
I
how
don't believe
wide
there were
that
any
margin
cut
is.
within 10 feet, but
But yeah, what's done is done. Okay.
And that's why we need the citations.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else to report, David, or, that's good? All right. So at this point, we just wanted to, a couple of the agency members have brought up some questions about our minutes, not a big deal, but we just want to clarify some things. So if you want to start, Frank, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so, in no disrespect to our wonderful secretary, but according to Robert's Rules of Order, Robert's Rule of Order dictate that meeting minutes should primarily record action taken, not what was said. However, when we got our meeting minutes, they were literally verbatim what was said. So they were literally word for word. They looked like they were AI generated. And so technically they're inappropriate. And I'll give you an example of the meeting minutes. Give me a second, and so I can pull it up.
Which minutes?
I'm gonna do the one for the last
July?
meeting, yeah, the last meeting we had. It starts with, "My name is Annette Ellis. I'm a licensed professional engineer with blah, blah, blah." First of all, that's a direct quote, so there's no quotation marks. And second of all, it's inappropriate for meeting minutes, because it's against Robert's Rules of Order. Now, I went and looked, and I'm glad our town council president is here. I went and looked at the last town council meeting minutes, and I also noticed that they're not following Robert's Rules of Order, that the town council minutes now are taking and just using verbatim, for most part, in the minutes. That looks like they're AI generated. But technically, that's not correct. So unless we get direction from town council that that we're changing the rules of how we do things, that we're going to use AI-generated minutes, I have an issue accepting these minutes because they don't meet Robert's rules. And when you look all the way through it, when you read, I don't know if everybody's read the minutes, but if you read the minutes, there's some places where obviously the recording didn't hear the enunciation correctly, so the wrong word is in there.
Yeah, I found that.
Yeah, so the wrong word is in there. And unfortunately, the town council is doing the same thing, because I looked at their last minutes, and I found numerous areas in the town council minutes where they're also using verbatim. But again, that is not, we're supposed to follow Robert's rules, at least that's what I was trained when we had training a few years ago, and this is not it. And I don't mean any disrespect to you, because I know you're buried, you've got a lot to do and everything, but unless we're gonna take and put in bold words on top of the minutes, these are AI-generated minutes and verbatim, we should not approve these.
Well, what should you have if you don't know what different members have proposed or
But
said?
if you don't say, you don't start out with, my name is,
Okay.
I'm a licensed professional engineer.
So-
That's not how you would write a minute.
So how should it be done?
It could have been say that she presented, she's an engineer with such and such,
So-
licensed engineer. But
Engineer.
it would need to be reworded, we need to be edited.
So the Robert's rules ones are very simple. You just need to have the motions
Right.
documented, and that's really all you need to have. You can
None-
say
none
there
of
was,
the- Meeting
there was
minutes should-
discussion
None
about
of
the
the
application.
Yes, meeting minutes should primarily record actions taken, not what was said. And that, if you look at the note that the lady, the Deep Connecticut Department of Environmental and Engineering Protection sent back, the lady at Deep was obviously sent our minutes. She mentioned 3 times in the minutes that she had exceptions with what Ian, I think that's his name, had said. That was her exact words, if you read the thing. I take exception to what he said. And then when I read that, I go, well, how could she know what he said? And then when I look at the minutes are word for word what Ian said. And that
So-
shouldn't have been in the minutes.
So
It
the-
should be a summary.
Summary.
Not
A little
verbatim. Yes.
summary in the
Yes,
minutes.
because our discussions, it should say discussion, and then the general idea of what was discussed.
Well, we have this recording if you want something verbatim.
Right.
Right.
And I think if the town council, and I'm glad our mayor's here, if the town council wants to change it and say that all meeting minutes can be AI generated and be verbatim, that's their right. But based on the training we had, how many years ago now, well before COVID, we're supposed to follow Robert's rules. And again, no disrespect, I think you're fantastic, I'm not criticizing you, I know you got a lot of committees to do, but, and I know you do, I just think if we're gonna do minutes, we should do it right, and that's my opinion. So I know if this comes forward to move forward, I personally cannot approve them, I will vote no, unless we get direction from town council that's saying that all commissions and committees will now go towards AI-generated minutes, and they'll be stated as AI-generated minutes.
Might I suggest that perhaps we accept them until the council makes a ruling on this?
I think it's inappropriate, you can do that.
We've been doing it
You
right
can do it,
along.
I'm gonna vote no, I think it's inappropriate, because
Okay.
they're not, they don't follow Robert's rules. But that's my feeling, you can do that.
Okay, and I think it's my responsibility to go back to the town council and bring this up.
Yeah,
Because I don't think you can make the decision here or decide what the town council is going to do or not. I think that
Right.
it's my responsibility to send that when they look for an agenda item. That should be on.
but if you look at again, I'm repeating, I apologize, if you look at the August 19 minutes from the town council, you'll see in numerous spots, the word I is used. Nowhere in the minutes should it be I be used, because that means it's verbatim.
Well, I was just a suggestion that everything you say, Frank, I totally agree with. But Marie said that she's gonna go and get some clarity for us, so maybe why don't we just, for tonight, just table it? And then we'll see what, see what we get back, and then we can make a decision in the future.
Quick question, how would AI do this?
So that it listens
She's
to the
recording it.
recording.
AI
It
can actually
interprets it, yeah,
listen?
oh, yeah.
We'll just translate the voice to
It's
text,
just,
right?
it's just
It's a
redoing
text
the
file.
transcript, it's just taking what we
Watch
say
out,
and
AI
it
can
just writes it
replace
out.
you too, so you better stay in line. No, I'm just
And it can convince you to commit suicide.
We're gonna table it.
Yes, we'll table it, yes, that's what we're gonna do. So how about we just have a motion to,
So I
move
make
to
a motion,
table.
we table the last 2 monthly meetings until we get direction from town council on the use of AI for minutes.
perfect, we have a second.
And verbatim
Oh, sorry.
AI,
Yes,
verbatim
yep.
AI.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. And
Who seconded?
I did.
and we look
It's
forward to
actually might be
Marie
a way to
clarify
make
that for
your
us, so
work
we can
easier.
move forward.
No,
Thank
the
you,
AI
appreciate
is
you
easy.
looking into
Really?
that.
It's easy.
She doesn't
It's much,
Doesn't do
She needs a
anything.
pay raise.
Okay,
Can I put that on the
No,
record?
Actually, it would be a
We've said that for years.
yeah, we've said that for years, that's not even debatable.
Well.
So, at this point, is there anything else, David, you have to add, or anything else, or you want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, second, all in favor? Aye. Motion,
I know, we both said it at the
motion
same
passed,
time.
meeting
We'll see
adjourned.
here.
Robert.